shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Behave yourselves!
Hello, YouTubers out there. This is Jerry Saravia at the movies. So, Evil Dead 2, the 1987 sequel by Sam Raimi, starring Bruce Campbell as Ash, is coming to VHS. Now, this is not a time warp, and this is not a video that I did back in 1988 or 89, whenever the original VHS release came out for Evil Dead 2. This is actually happening now in 2023. Actually, it already happened. We're now in 2024, of course, but this was released back in November of 2023. And yes, Evil Dead 2 is back in a brand new VHS packaging tape. Actually, a couple of tapes. And this is being released by a UK company called Vice Press Home Video, under license from Studio Canal. And this extremely limited release is available in 2 editions, Collector's Edition and a blood splatter variant, and features box design and cover by Matt Ferguson and Flory, with additional cover illustrations. And some people are really excited to get this. Now, vinyl came back into being about over a decade ago. And from what I understand, I know this sounds crazy, but the younger generation, Generation Z, that even buys vinyl, or what we used to call LPs or albums, they buy them, but they don't have a player to play them on. I mean, maybe some do, because they do sell record players, of course. If you go to Barnes & Noble or other stores, or I mean, you can find certainly record players, or even online, of course. But VHS seems to have had an interest with this new generation, and hence this may be the reason for this Evil Dead 2. Now, that doesn't mean that they have VCRs and that they're going to play them. They may just have them as a souvenir. Now, here's the thing that I don't really understand. I don't know if this is in widescreen, number one. So there's that. Could be full frame, I don't know. But that was one of the reasons why VHS for me was always problematic. There were specialized editions that had widescreen versions. Woody Allen, back in the 80s, when his films were released on VHS, there was a bit of a compression of the image, which he didn't really shoot, anamorphic or anything like that. So there was enough just to condense it. But in general, VHS was problematic. Same thing with the way they used to show movies on television back then, which was pan and scan, or in some cases, depending on the ratio of the picture, because like Fantasia and Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, many of those Disney films were shot in, and I don't remember the ratio, but I think it's 4:3. So you saw the full frame. Maybe you might miss a little bit of the top and bottom. It depends. It would depend. But VHS was always problematic, and so were television showings of movies, because they weren't presented widescreen. They weren't presented. You didn't see the full frame. And that's why, you had to see movies in theaters. It was better that way. Until Laserdisc came along, you didn't really see the full frame. So VHS has always been problematic up until late 90s, really, when they started to have a couple of widescreen versions of films. But then DVD was already starting to gain some traction and be out in the marketplace. Of course, there are some DVDs that were sold as standard editions, meaning standard meant cropped frames. That's really the way to put it. They were cropped frames. Most VHS tapes from back in the day were cropped. So this, to me, just sounds like a novelty item. I mean, I love Evil Dead 2. I'm not sure I love it enough to own this. I would be curious to know the image quality, number one, and number two, how much of the image are we seeing? So I don't know all those basics. Maybe some of you do, and you've gotten stuff from these people. I think since then there's been other VHS editions of movies, possibly, but um, I just don't. It's just strange because VHS seemed like such a thing of the past, and now we're seeing that there's an interest in owning physical copies of things because it turns out that many things that are streaming don't last on there forever, even if you buy them. So you're not going to have something forever available to you. VHS is really such a product of that time. You know what I mean? So for it to return when we have DVDs and Blu-rays and 4K releases, even though the quality is certainly 10,000 times better, not to mention getting the full picture, why would you want to go back to this? It just seems odd. It's almost like instead of listening to music streaming, you're not going to go back to CDs. It's almost like going back to 8-track cartridges. So, and I don't see a resurgence of that happening, but you never know. I don't even know if radio stations even still use that anymore. I worked at a radio station once and stopped back in 1995, and they were going automated at that point, so I don't even think 8-track cartridges were going to continue to be used. But anyway, what do the rest of you think? Do you think VHS is making a comeback? How odd. Odd is really the only word I can think of. Just strange. And do any of you still own VCRs? I have one, but I haven't plugged it in quite some time. What do you think about this? Is there going to be a resurgence? Will people go back to physical copies? That's another issue as well. Who knows? I don't know. But let me know what you think. And I guess that's all I got to say about that. Evil Dead 2 back in VHS. It's not really, those are not words I ever expected to hear again. So let me know your thoughts. Tell me what you think. Thank you to the new subscribers to this channel. And I did lose a couple. I don't know what happened, but things happen. I'm trying to do shows for this channel with, at a more steady rate than I have been. Because I know it's been about over 10 days since my last video. But, I'm busy with work and stuff, and it's hard to devote time in addition to also writing reviews. And then, so that's how it is. But let me your thoughts. Tell me what you think. And if you are a subscriber already, please hit that notification bell for future uploads. And I guess that's all I got to say about that. Evil Dead 2 VHS. What do you think? I don't know. But tell me if you still have VCRs out there, any of you. And if you still use them, or do you like this more as just a novelty item? It does come with some postcards. And so, I mean, I don't know. And some movie posters. That might be worth it. Just especially if you're an Evil Dead fan, which, I am a fan of Evil Dead. But, all right, there it is. So, let me your thoughts. Tell me what you think. And I guess that's all I got to say about that. And this is Jerry Saravia at the Movies, signing off.